My full name is Ricardo, but I go by Ricky, Ricky Locci, and I attend Northwestern. I chose Northwestern, well, one, because I grew up in Ohio and I wanted to go out of state. I went to undergrad there, so that was important to me, and I wanted a different experience. I chose Northwestern for its reputation as a university, but it's also high reputation for its physical therapy program. Upon attending orientation and informational meetings, I was not only struck by the opportunities that were going to be provided me academically, but also that the passion and the sensitivity that the professors and faculty had for their students, how much they wanted them to succeed and how much they wanted to support them, not just academically and doing well, but like as professionals and helping them grow as a person, and the resources that they provided to students, because graduate school is difficult. So I was really appreciative of that personal aspects, and I have felt nothing but since I've arrived. But I'm also getting a dual degree. I'm getting a master's in public health as well at the same time. And I am passionate about taking exercise as a use of preventative medicine in marginalized communities, to help them live higher quality lives and create interventions and research that helps communities do that. I was an undergrad from 2010 to 2014, and I unfortunately had to leave my undergraduate career because I was suffering from both some mental health issues. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and then I was facing PTSD after an assault. During that time, I lost a lot of my health. I lost not only my mental health, but I lost my physical health. I was struggling financially. I was struggling personally with my relationships, and it was a very difficult time in my life. And while I was in when I had to leave school and while I was focusing on my health, I found solace and a lot of therapeutic time in exercise. I found that although I couldn't necessarily control my health, I could do something that was good for my body and for my mind. And I found that it had power. I grew to fall in love with what I could do with my body. And I had taken it for granted, I think, for years. And the perseverance of being able to exercise and the amount of mental strength that took. So I ended up taking a career in exercise and fitness. I became a personal trainer and eventually a nutrition coach. I ended up actually working with, over 100 clients over about 3 years. And so many of them experienced what I had experienced. They grew to have less pain. They grew to have more strength. They grew to have more confidence. They grew to have more energy. They grew to have better mental health. They viewed their lives better. So I became really inspired to learn more about movement, to learn more about exercise, to take it to that higher academic level so that I could help people with the most difficult movement deficiencies. I'm a firm believer that movement is medicine. I've seen it in the general population. I'm seeing it in school. I believe that when people have control over their bodies and are living with less pain, are living with more strength and more functionality, they can live a higher quality of life. And I want to help provide people with that. And that's where the physical therapy aspect comes in. So Fitness is my own personal training business. I developed a business as I was working in person for 3 years in as an in-person trainer, and then I developed a business that moved online. And I wanted to create a business that took away a lot of the stigma and negativity that I saw in the fitness industry, where they were telling people that they had to make their whole lives about fitness, where they had to go on restrictive diets to get results, where they forgot to focus on all the other amazing things that exercise can do for us. So I wanted to create a business, and I call it Fitting in Fitness, that helps people fit fitness into their lives and sees the positive aspects and see how it can add to it. So I run that as a personal training business. I work with a lot of different populations. I also provide back where I support a couple people a month just on my own. It's my way of giving back to people who can't necessarily have access to services. The fitness industry costs money a lot of times, so I'm really proud that I've been able to build and own a business. I work with about 25 to 30 people a month. That helps people move closer to their exercise goals, and can give back in the small way that a business can impact people's quality of lives. Besides overcoming my depression, this is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. It's absolutely rewarding and amazing at the same time. I've never learned this fast in my entire life, which is saying something because I'm a giant nerd. Um, it really pushes you to understand concepts and learn. It's not about getting a grade. I mean, I have to get certain grades, but um, it's about really understanding concepts and seeing how they build, and like the person you are at the end of the semester and what you can do and how everything is kind of accumulated, and you walk away and you feel like you've accomplished something. And I've not always experienced that in academia. So that's an amazing feeling. My professors are very empathetic. My professors are also incredibly brilliant, where like I said, I've never learned this fast in my entire life. And while that's probably because I'm putting in some work, I'm going to attribute that a lot to the university as well and their system. It's also stressful. It's also, like, you question if you want it, and then you sit down and you're like, no, this is what I want. I think, like a lot of things in our lives don't come easy that we really want. I am finding it incredibly rewarding. I am finding that I am not growing just as an academic and learning, but I'm also growing as a person, a professional, using my ability to communicate, using my ability to advocate, using my ability to show empathy. Those are all things that I don't think we think about when you apply to grad school, but I am finding them incredibly rewarding. I am really passionate about orthopedics. It comes from my fitness background, I think. Just working with the general population, helping them move better. I could see myself an outpatient, but I'm also really interested in doing some acute care, maybe in pediatrics. I would love to get some experience working with children, especially because I think it's so important developmentally that they develop a good relationship with their body, and seeing some of the things that they may experience and how they develop. I think I also want to do something a broader scope where I can start doing a little bit more research with public health, and hopefully even find a career where I can do both. Research and clinical work, so I can feel as well rounded. But that public health aspect of me wants to really do physical therapy research and exercise research in terms of preventative medicine. Part of the reason that I went to Northwestern was because of the conversations that they were having about diversity. Um, the student population in terms of actual schools in comparison to other schools is relatively diverse. I would love to see more diversity, always. The school is taking a conscious effort to establish affinity groups, which I think is great. We have a Black student affinity group, a Latin X student affinity group, an LGBTQIA affinity group, and we're taking times to make sure that those populations feel protected, and those populations feel heard, and those populations feel respected. I think we even had some changes in our curriculum where we, as students, gave feedback to the faculty that we think that the way that they address certain populations can go further. Um, And, as a student, that's almost intimidating to do, um, you know, when you're speaking to this prominent higher education. But I was really proud of how my class took some time to really communicate that we can do better, and that there's more education that we can provide to students that may have not had a lot of diverse experiences. It's Diversity is important, um, but also making sure that um, people are learning about diversity is important. And it's not just about having a diverse student populations; it's about making sure we're having conversations about different kinds of populations in the right way, and how to approach them, and how to treat them and understand them with cultural humility rather than cultural competence. I would definitely say make sure you want it. I found it really helpful to shadow, which is usually a requirement for most physical therapy schools. But I did as much shadowing as I could to make sure that this is the kind of career that I want. I would say be open. This career, even just being here, has the range that this career can have is incredible. The different fields, it's a lot of people think of their physical therapist where they got injured and they had in a sport and then they went to go see a physical therapist. It is so much broader than that, and it's which is incredible. So I would say, make sure you're opening yourself up to the different kinds of um, experiences. And I'd also say, like, understand that this is your job when you apply, that this is your job for the next 3 years, that we spend 35 to 40 hours in class, and then you have to go home and study. That it takes a commitment and a conscious effort. And I think for incoming students, that if this is the right career for you and you find the right school, you're going to feel really fulfilled, and it's going to make the late nights and the pulling out your hair, just kidding, um, worth it. Students put so much pressure on themselves to succeed already, um, that um, the more empathy and the more compassion and the more communication you can provide really helps lower the stress of students. And I think that's so important. Um, Students want to learn. They Most of the time they're generally interested in learning, but it can be managing the calendar and managing the classes and not knowing assignments, and feeling in terms of maybe a little bit marginalized communities, feeling not necessarily unwelcome, but feeling like they don't belong because there's not a lot of people in the room that look like them, or they feel like you're having conversations about my community um, without engaging me, without engaging those communities where it's a very academic base, right? Sometimes the world of academia can be very intimidating and can be very, this is the research, this is what it says. But, when we remember that we're all humans and we all need compassion and we all need empathy, it goes a long way for students. And I've had great instances at Northwestern where I've seen a lot of that and experienced a lot of that, where I haven't been treated as a learning robot. Um, and That's made a very big difference in my experience. And to be heard and to feel like, I think something Northwestern does really great is they make us feel like colleagues or future colleagues, and that they're excited to work with us. And that's really appreciated. And I think that it's an imperfect process, but the ability to listen and grow and like students communicate is invaluable. I think physical therapy is a rapidly growing field, and I think there's an appreciation again amongst the medical community for physical therapists. My friends, my relatives that are in the medical community say the highest things about physical therapy. I would love for physical therapy to not just be where people go when they get injured. Um, I would love it to be used as preventative medicine. I would love insurances to cover it. in some sort of preventative medicine way as a checkup once a year. I would love more physical therapists to take the time not to just fix the problem. And I see physical therapists doing this already, but to prescribe exercise programmings or discuss with patients, all right, you're not seeing me anymore. How are you going to stay active? So we're preventing more problems rather than fixing more problems. In terms of like the general practitioner kind of way. But I see that all the time where um, physical therapy and exercise are starting to link, and the benefits that that can have and for quality of life. It was a unique application process. I've done a lot of applications this past year in terms of scholarships and just schools and all that kind of stuff. Um, and I was almost immediately struck by how much authenticity they wanted. Um, I am a gay man. I am suffering from bipolar disorder. I have PTSD. Those were all things that sometimes people warn you not to put on an application, um, which is hard to hear because, especially when those things have impacted my experiences and impact the populations I want to help, and have impact the way that I have developed as a professional and as a person. Um, and it's hard to be able to not communicate those openly. The application process for this, they asked for authenticity, they asked for honesty, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna just be completely myself, and I'm going to tell them the highs and the lows of my life, and I want them to give me this scholarship because they understand that that person is very passionate about what he's going into, and that person is very passionate about helping people, and it's just it was really nice to receive wonderful feedback just in the interview and the application process, and to even receive the reward based off doing that, where it made me feel that some of the things that I have been told not to talk about are actually what makes me strong. So it actually actually raved about the application process. I was really inspired by the different careers that everyone, the mentors, had in this program. I think that gave me a really great perspective of what this career could be, and in terms of all the opportunities that it would allow me to have. And that was really inspiring to see how many different directions that this can be taken. So I was really appreciative of being exposed to so many successful professionals that had done such diverse things. I think also I am so excited about the ability to actually connect with these professionals, to ask them questions, to find mentorship, to find, you know, where, how do I find what I want to do? What's effective? What's not? To create professional relationships, to create a network. I think that it is so underrated what that can do. And I know I do very well with mentorships, and if I can ask questions and feel supported. So it just kind of feels like another support system, which is really, really great because grad school is hard. When you have a student that majored in something else, when you have a student that lived in rural communities compared to urban communities, when you have students of different ethnicities and different races, they all can accumulate and provide information for each other so that they can provide a better experience for a range of populations. That diversity strengthens your group. That diversity helps you learn from each other. That diversity shows you your strengths and shows you your weaknesses, and you can grow as a professional, and we can all learn from each other, and from each other to provide better experiences or come up with new ideas and innovations that you may have not known. And from a patient perspective, having diversity and perfection is not underrated. I know people of color that feel more comfortable with a healthcare provider of color. I know peers in the LGBTQIA population that feel more comfortable with somebody that's queer, or at least they know that they're queer friendly, that they can, um, that they feel safe in a space. And that that's so important for me personally, as somebody who wants to go into communities and help that. You know, I was just having this conversation the other day where I was telling somebody all these shows are being rebooted. um, and all of a sudden they're adding a bunch of diverse characters. That's because I grew up not knowing anybody that was gay, and I didn't know anybody that looked like me that was on TV, and that representation matters, and representation matters in healthcare, for patients to be able to see that and to see that, someone of who looks like me or somebody with my background can be in that profession, and then maybe I can be in that profession, and create more diversity that way. It's so important for people to feel seen and be heard, and feel represented in the people that are taking care of them and the people that are representing them. I want to change the conversations that we are having about exercise and preventative medicine in this country. And I mean that on a very broad scope. I have lots of things that I want to do. I want to work as a clinician, and I want to be able to impact patients on an individual basis. I want to create research and interventions that like changes communities and like really finds what works for them and what's holding them back and how we can do that. I would love to take that on a bigger scale and see changes in policy at some point. Um, like I said, a lot of ambition, but I want to give as many people their lives back by taking back their bodies and their minds through movement. Um, and I want to do that on a broad scale, and as much as rewarding as it's been working with clients one on one, and I'm sure we'll be working on working with like individual patients. I want to do it on a bigger scale that impacts more people. And not to the point where I'm fixing their injuries, but preventing them. And so that people can live whatever kind of lives that they want, so that they can chase their kids, so that they can go to work, so they can drive their car. I want to start them young. I want to start them early. I want to, help people live healthier lives, so that they're full their lives. And I think that's where the scope of physical therapy I would like to see expand, to be the protectors of health. I feel at times that doctors come in and diagnose you when something's wrong. I would love for physical therapists to um, be a part of the conversation of, all right, what can we do to keep you healthy so that you can have less things diagnosed with you wrong?